Thursday night, we seen some of the biggest prospects maybe ever get drafted. A damn near 300-pound all-muscle Zion Williamson, RJ Barrett, Bobo. I mean, we seen it all. I don't even have to name them all. And before that draft even happened, I followed John Wall on IG, and I saw him put a post up about his draft class about 9 years ago, the 2010 NBA draft. And I figured I would make a video talking about how that draft class was actually one of the more cursed draft classes of all time. And speaking of IG, the shout out for the day goes to Classic 2K GOAT. He subscribed to both of my channels, followed me on IG, and showed me the proof, so he was the guy I chose. Many others did it too, but it was like hundreds of you guys. I only can choose one. So like I said, if you want a shout out, I might get you, I might not. It's just too damn hard. But on to this draft stuff. I want to take you guys back to a very, very, very talented draft class. A draft class that's to me a little underrated, but most importantly, they're very unfortunate. Now, this draft class consisted of a bunch of young players that actually turned out to be solid players in this NBA. Derrick Favors, he never turned out to be an all-star or anything crazy like that, but he has been a serviceable player for the Jazz, averaging just about 11 points and 6 boards for his career, so that's not too bad. Greg Monroe, he's been pretty pathetic as of late, honestly, but in his first 6 years, he did average 14 points and 9 rebounds, so he wasn't a total bust, and he was pretty productive for his first 6-7 seasons. After starting his career on the bench, Eric Bledsoe made a real name for himself as a legit starting point guard in this NBA. He got paid, and he's on a very good team with the Milwaukee Bucks, so he was a good player in this draft. Avery Bradley, he's one of the best defensive players in the league. He was in this draft, so this draft produced a lot of respectable young talent, but I'm here to talk about the all-stars they had. The players that I like to categorize as unlucky as hell, man. Now, the number one pick in this draft, John Wall, came out as just a freshman. He was athletic. He had natural playmaking instincts, great scoring ability with his athleticism. He was a bigger point guard at 6'4", a respectable defensive player with his imposing size. John Wall was a beast, and he came out as number one, and everybody understood why. And in the NBA, as a lot of people predicted, his game translated relatively easily. He's always kind of reminded me of like a 6'4" LeBron James. He might not be as great as LeBron, his instincts might not be as great as LeBron because LeBron is one of a kind, but how he dominates his position. He had one of the greatest dunks I've ever seen. Like, I'm showing you guys now, I'm sure. He put it behind his back and dunked it with his left. I've never seen that in my life. And he didn't even travel. The NBA is filled with travels. He didn't even travel. That dunk was incredible. John Wall's a beast. But here's where the unluckiness kind of comes into play. After making 5 consecutive All-Star games, having a legit claim as the best point guard in the entire Eastern Conference, last season John Wall had to miss about 2 months with the surgery on his left knee, so that didn't look too good. Then this past season, he missed the majority of the season again with a heel injury. Somehow, with that heel injury, he had to get surgery and it got infected somehow, so it sounds like he has a good lawsuit. Then while he's trying to recover from that heel injury, he's at home and he trips and tears his Achilles, so he has to be out an additional 12 months. It's just sad for John Wall. To be honest though, it's even more sad for the Wizards. I think like around last year, they gave this man $170 million for 4 years. He missed that season last year. He missed the majority of the season this year. He's probably going to miss next year, so he will probably play 1 year in that whole $170 million contract. So I'm not going to say he robbed them, but the injuries robbed them and him. On a serious note though, I'm sad for John Wall because a player like that with an Achilles injury coming back, and he relies heavily on his athleticism and his speed to get past defenders and his dunks and stuff like that. So I'm not sure how he will recover, but hopefully he can come back at least 90% of what we know. Next, Paul George. Before his injury, he was literally getting that LeBron treatment for 3 straight years in the playoffs. He took the Heat to 7 games in the Eastern Conference Finals. I mean, Paul George was legit in the conversation for the 2nd or 3rd best player in the league at that specific time. But in a Team USA scrimmage game, and don't worry, I won't show it, man, Paul George went up for a block against James Harden and suffered one of the worst injuries I've ever seen live. Like, I could not believe that his leg literally broke, and it was just devastating. Who truly knows where his career was headed had that injury never happened? Like, he's on a great path now. He almost won MVP. Like, he was in discussions this year or whatever. But who truly knows where he could have went if that injury didn't happen? You know what I mean? Like, we don't really know. Now, his recovery has been absolutely incredible. I still can't believe how he came back so damn good. Get this, Paul George broke his leg in August of 2014. He played a game in the NBA live that following April, like April 2015, he actually played a game. He wasn't the best, he wasn't Paul George, but the fact that he had a gruesome, crazy injury like that and still returned probably like 8-9 months later, that's incredible. And what's even more amazing to me, it's not even like he came back a reliability or a shell of himself. He could have easily used the excuse like, man, I had one of the worst injuries ever. He didn't come back like that. He came back maybe even a little bit better. These are his numbers before the injury. These are his numbers post-injury. He might have gotten a little bit better. He tweaked his game just a little bit, used a little bit less, athleticism and all that, less dunks, but he came back still a superstar, so respect to Paul George. Now, the next All-Star on this list that was drafted in that 2010 NBA draft that just had terrible luck, and he's probably had the worst luck out of everyone, is DeMarcus Cousins. Now, I'm not trying to make it seem like this is a little bit of money or anything like that, because this is still a lot of money. But in DeMarcus's career, he's made about $85 million in about 8 seasons. That is way underpaid for a player of his magnitude. Chris Paul on this terrible Rockets contract is going to make around that much in just 2 seasons alone with the Rockets. Now, my point is that DeMarcus Cousins actually had the opportunity to get that max contract that he so deserved last offseason, but an injury that put that on hold, and he might not ever get it again. That's why it's sad. If you guys don't really remember, let me refresh your memory. In the game versus the Rockets right before the All-Star game, DeMarcus had just got selected to an All-Star game starting position in the All-Star game for Team LeBron. He tore his Achilles, missed the rest of the season, and pretty much missed out on about $170 million plus. Now, that offseason, he was going into being an unrestricted free agent. He could have signed with a team, maybe the Lakers. One of these big teams was going to give him a lot of money because he was averaging 25 points, 12 boards, 4 assists. Like, he was putting up unbelievable Shaq, Kareem, Hakeem, whatever big Keem, Weem you want to name. He was putting up those type numbers, and he had an opportunity to get paid, but it never happened because of a damn injury. Like I said, man, this draft class with these damn All-Stars, they all suffered crazy-ass injuries, and I didn't even get to maybe the worst one, and that's coming up next.
Eating his own legacy. What better way with this young team? This is the guy that probably hit the biggest shot in Cavs history.
Nah, man, I ain't gonna do y'all like that. I love y'all enough. I'm not gonna show y'all that injury again. But Gordon Hayward, now, we all know what happened, and what's even more sad is that his career, I'm not even sure if he can get back to the same guy that he once was. Gordon Hayward, before that injury, he was coming off of his best season as a pro. I mean, he had just made an All-Star game in the Western Conference. That's hard as hell to do. Won a playoff game, won a playoff series, got the Utah Jazz to the semifinals. So he was actually looking good. And when he became a free agent, he had multiple $million contract offers and all this stuff. Miami and Boston was battling for him. Got that contract, played his first game in Boston, and within like the first 5 minutes, that happens. Then he comes back this season. I mean, I'm just thanking God that he's back on the court. I can't really expect too much from him after an injury like that. And he's pretty much a shell of himself. I hate to put too much pressure on him because I'm just glad he's walking again and he's actually playing the sport he loves. But in the playoffs, he averaged just 9 points. They were force-feeding him. You can tell Brad Stevens really wanted to implement him in the system, but he just wasn't the same. I'm not sure if the locker room was just too toxic with Kyrie Irving and Gordon Hayward coming back. Terry Rozier came on First Take and said he felt like Gordon Hayward and Kyrie got special treatment. Gordon Hayward was kind of force-fed, so I'm not sure if that's what made Gordon Hayward struggle so much, but he just wasn't the same, and that was pretty evident. So this draft class, man, all these injuries, it's like a cursed NBA draft class, and that's why I made this video. In some draft classes, you have like a lot of mediocre talent. You don't really have too many All-Stars. In some draft classes, you have a bunch of All-Stars like the 1996 draft. But this draft class was just unique to me because it had 4 All-Stars, 4 productive players, and a bunch of talent around them. But the All-Stars mainly, they all suffered tragic, devastating, career-ending type injuries. And 3 of them, we don't really know how they're going to return. DeMarcus Cousins, is he ever going to get back to that dude that we once knew? John Wall is suffering an Achilles injury. We don't know how he's going to be. And Gordon Hayward, is he ever going to get back to the guy that we once knew as well? Paul George, he made a return, so that's great, but everybody else we don't know. Comment and tell me if you ever really thought about this draft class like that. If you guys like the video, make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. Follow my second channel, do all that great stuff, guys, and until next time, stay tuned.